The future of Red Bull Racing has gotten murkier and murkier over the past few years. Controversies within the team have coupled up with declining performance and problems with their usually limitless supply of junior drivers to leave Red Bull in a situation where they don't seem sure what the future will hold. For a decade now, the future has always been Max Verstappen chasing championships, a plan that's worked out pretty well. But Verstappen has become a one-man team trying to drag a car that has ended lesser drivers' careers to race wins. So where do Red Bull go from here? And what is the plan for a teammate for Verstappen who can try to replicate his performances? Well, the FIA have helped Red Bull out in the first step of their recovery plan, and today I'll check it all out, so don't go anywhere. For this season, Red Bull have a host of problems that they've struggled to resolve. First off is their car. The performance of the Red Bull machinery has been in decline for over a year now. The evidence that it was becoming an unstable and undrivable monster was there when Sergio Perez's performances started dropping. His problems were blamed on his mentality. People mocked him for thinking he could challenge Verstappen and said that the mental toll of trying to do so was causing him to struggle. Red Bull did eventually admit that the problem was partly their own during the summer break in 2024, when they said they hadn't done enough to support Checo and they hadn't listened to him when he pointed out the problems with the car, but the damage was already done. As the car continued to become worse to drive over the second half of 2024, Verstappen demanded Red Bull do better, and the team planned for the future. They would replace Checo and return to their old playbook of promoting junior drivers alongside Verstappen, and then being shocked when they weren't as good as their generational talent of a driver. That meant that a poor and unsuspecting Liam Lawson was dropped into the meat grinder for 2025. But Red Bull had a plan. Their winter break goal was to focus on drivability. The balance was going to shift backward, taking some of the bite out of an overly aggressive front end, making the car easier to drive on the edge. Even the best laid plans go wrong though. The car isn't any better than last season. Verstappen is regularly heard complaining about its balance in practice sessions. The braking is inconsistent, and even Max struggles to drive it at 100% over an entire race distance. With the car in a worse state than it was at the end of 2024, Liam Lawson stood no chance. Two underwhelming performances were all Red Bull needed to realize that putting an enthusiastic and inexperienced but promising driver alongside Max was a mistake. They made the right decision by withdrawing Lawson to the junior team to give him a chance to develop rather than ending his career with one season at Red Bull. In his place, they promoted Tsunoda. Much more experienced, arguably a better driver as well. He's managed 3-point finishes in 7 races. Not a wealth of riches for sure, but he looks more comfortable in a car that wants to kill you for doing anything but driving in a straight line. Red Bull seem unwilling to admit that they're the problem though. They seem sure that it is Verstappen's teammates who are making the car look bad and are planning for life beyond Tsunoda. That future is looking like Arvid Lindblad. On Tuesday, the FIA decided to grant an early super license to the Formula 2 racer during a meeting of its World Motorsport Council. One of the requirements to qualify for an FIA super license, which is needed to race in Formula 1, is that a driver must be 18 or older. A rule change introduced in 2024, when Andrea Kimi Antonelli was being linked with an early F1 debut, means the governing body can now give special dispensation for certain drivers to receive their super license at 17. Lindblad doesn't reach adulthood until August, and Red Bull put in a request to the FIA for an exemption to be made while the Anglo-Swede is 17. Lindblad has already met the other requirement for a super license, which is to accumulate 40 super license points over the past 3 years since making his single-seater debut in 2022. He has won in 4 different Formula 4 competitions, Formula Regional Middle East, and the FIA Formula 3 Championship. This year, he won the F Regional Oceania title and stepped up to Formula 2, which he's currently third in the standings of with 2 victories and a pole position. Arvid getting his super license is important for a couple of reasons. The pertinent one to the current season being that it means he could be considered as a stand-in at either of its 2 teams should Red Bull Racing driver Max Verstappen pick up a race ban this month. Verstappen needs to avoid receiving any penalty points in the next 2 races or he'll be hit with a 1-race ban. It would be very unlikely for Red Bull to throw Lindblad into the RB21. He would probably replace either Hadjar or Lawson at the Racing Bulls while one of them drives for Red Bull for a race. The second advantage is that Lindblad can now take part in FP1 sessions straight away. The British Grand Prix at the start of July is normally a race where we see plenty of F1 driver swaps due to a lot of junior drivers being very familiar with the track, and Arvid is bound to make an appearance there. With Arvid being the second driver in a year to get the Verstappen rule waived, there are questions being asked about whether or not the rule even serves a purpose. The over-18 clause was added to the super license after the FIA were unhappy that Max Verstappen got his F1 debut as a 17-year-old. But with Antonelli and Lindblad now getting early access to F1, is the rule even relevant anymore? So with Lindblad now having a super license, Red Bull seem to be planning for some driver movement in the near future. They have Ayumu Iwasa as a reserve driver already who has a super license, so if Verstappen were to pick up a race ban, they would already have someone who's able to step into a seat if needed. Lindblad turns 18 on the 8th of August, so he could drive plenty of FP1 sessions at the 10 race weekends that are scheduled to take place this season after his birthday. So why ask the FIA to give him the license less than 2 months before he would get it anyway? Well, I'll talk about that in a moment, but before I do, if you're enjoying the video and want to catch all the news and analysis from this weekend's Canadian Grand Prix, then make sure to give this video a like and subscribe to F1 Reverse. Thanks a lot. Verstappen's teammates have never had a great record against him, and lately it's been getting worse. Everything went well as long as the Red Bull remained a docile car. Perez's decline began with the Red Bull engineers sacrificing drivability in the search for more downforce, and that problem has continued. Now, Tsunoda is the victim of it. There are seemingly 3 reasons that Red Bull struggles so much to find a good fit for their second seat. Max is such an alien that he can drive Red Bull's cars fast despite them not making any sense to other drivers. The RB21 is actually a terrible car and Max is just that much faster than everyone else on equal footing. Or the RB21 is a good car, but second drivers are so bad compared to Max that their gaps make them look even worse and their confidence gets crushed. With Red Bull getting a super license early for Lindblad, it looks like Red Bull might be leaning toward the problem still being with their second driver choices, not the fact that Verstappen might be the only driver on the planet capable of driving a car as challenging as the RB21. Luis Vasconcelos, an F1 insider for Auto Action, recently reported that he would not be surprised if Red Bull released Tsunoda after the summer break. The Japanese driver is under pressure to prove his place, having so far scored just 7 points since he replaced Liam Lawson. His form at Red Bull's junior team and his experience were the reasons why Tsunoda replaced Lawson, but the decision was helped along by Honda, who sponsor Yuki. Honda is reportedly paying Red Bull upwards of £17 million for Tsunoda to drive for their main team. With Honda leaving Red Bull for Aston Martin in 2026, Tsunoda needs to improve his performances to earn a more permanent seat at the main team. Seeing him replaced during the summer break would be a big surprise. Hadjar has impressed so far this season, but surely Red Bull wouldn't make the same mistake again and promote another driver too early into a car that isn't safe for a rookie to drive. Or would they? Do you think that Tsunoda is seriously at risk of losing his seat? Is Lindblad on his way to the Racing Bulls at some point this season? And is all of this a desperation play to try and find a driver to partner Verstappen in 2026? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and until next time, drive safe and bye for now.